someone just landing. Today we are traveling to Romania with my friend Radu.
Hi, Irene. Hi, guys.
Can you let us know where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of the Carpathian Mountains in Romania, near a town called Brașov. And more precisely, I'm at a paragliding place.
You told us that this is where you learn paragliding. Wow. How long is the journey normally when they came down from the hilltop?
It's about 10-15 minutes in the air. And I will try to fly later on.
Oh, really? Are you going?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's nice.
I have my paraglide with me.
Can you give us a little introduction of yourself?
My name is Radu. I am Romanian. I am 44. I work in IT. And I am a very keen outdoor enthusiast. I started paragliding about 6 years ago.
How many outdoor activities that do you do? And what makes you love that so much?
Yeah, I started going into the mountains with my parents. They were very crazy about hiking into the mountains. Let's not forget that they are born in the communist Romania, where there were not too many activities to do. There was no TV and no other things to do, so a lot of people would go in the mountains to spend their free time. And both me and my sister, we got this from my parents. Afterwards, I started to climb, to do some rock climbing. Then, when I moved to Sweden, I bought a sailing boat. I discovered sailing. I do a lot of sailing in the summer when I'm in Sweden. And I do a lot of biking, both mountain biking and bicycle touring.
Now we know that you started paragliding like 6 years ago. How do you start it?
Since I was a kid, I loved the idea of flying. And at that time, I was thinking about flying a hang glider. In Romanian, we call it a deltaplan because it has the shape of the Greek letter delta. And of course, it was logistically very difficult. You'd have to maybe join a club, and it's very difficult. Then in the 90s, I discovered paragliding. As soon as I had the opportunity, I joined the paragliding club. It's more like a paragliding school. In fact. It is exactly in this place where I am now, in fact.
How long does it take for you to learn how to fly?
Yeah, you start with ground handling and flying on very, very small hills where your instructor is close to you and you are fairly close to the ground. And the first flights would be like few seconds or 1 minute. Then maybe in about 1 week, you are able to fly on a real mountain like we are now. But you'd fly very early in the morning.
Wow.
When there is no thermal activity. The air is very calm in the morning. And of course, there is no big risk. So basically, you take off, and your instructor would guide you for the landing. Would tell you exactly step by step how much to turn left, how much to turn right, when to brake, and every single step. After a while, you would start to fly more in the middle of the day when there are ascending air currents and there can be a bit turbulent. So, yeah. But for that, it maybe takes a few weeks of training.
Wow. So after you finish the course, you will have a license.
Yes, in order to fly legally in Romania and in most places, you are required to have a pilot license. Yeah, it's not only about controlling it in the air, but it's a lot about taking decisions when to fly, when not to fly, where to go flying. If you are in the air and the weather is getting bad, you have to take the decision to land and where to land. So you are responsible for all decisions. I can give some examples. A few months ago, I did what we normally call or I try to do what we normally call hike and fly. You basically hike up the mountain with all your gear and you take off from there, and yeah, you fly downhill or you go for the distance. Unfortunately, the weather was super foggy when I arrived up the mountain at the takeoff place. I waited for it to clear, it didn't happen, so I had to hike back. So sometimes you have to take the decision to not fly, and sometimes the wind might be way too strong, where or a rain might be approaching, so it's better to not fly. In paragliding, we have a saying that it's better to be on the ground wishing to be in the air than to be in the air wishing to be on the ground.
Can you share with us, like, where have you been with the paragliding?
So as I said, I started to fly in Romania. I went to this paragliding school called Sky Dreamers. We dream about going to the sky. And I did most of my flights in Romania, because even after you become a pilot, you still feel like flying with the same group of people that you know. Right after, we had a trip to Spain, to the southern Spain, in Andalusia. It was one of the most amazing places to fly. Apart from that, I did a very, very short flight in Sweden and a few flights in Malaysia near Kuala Lumpur.
When you say the very beautiful place, why does it makes you feel that it's very beautiful?
More, the one in Andalusia is the landscape is very nice. The flying is very easy, and for me, I was like 1 or 2 weeks after I became a pilot, and I could do some long flights. And it's the first cross country flight, and it's quite a nice experience. We call it cross country when we go from the takeoff place and we try to go as far as possible. And at that time, it was only 22 kilometers for me, but it was very soon after I became a pilot. So, it's a memorable experience. The other nice place is exactly here in Transylvania, in Romania, because if you go from the local flying place over the mountains and hills, you fly over nice mountain villages and some places that you cannot see otherwise. You cannot see them from the road and you cannot see them from the plane. So I really like the hills around here.
How do you normally feel when you're taking off and landing?
Speaking of the feeling, yeah, for me the takeoff moment is a really nice feeling when you run a bit to take off, and then you all of a sudden you are up in the air, and you really feel like a bird because there is no noise of an engine; it's just the noise of the wind, and in few seconds you are over the trees and the forest, and it's like quite an amazing feeling. I cannot compare it to anything else. It's a profound feeling of freedom.
But don't you feel scared? Not at all?
Um, Not at all at the takeoff, because you decide to take off when the conditions are good enough for your level.
So you feel secure, that don't make you feel scared about the height.
Exactly. And normally, the higher you are, the better you feel, because in case something happens, you have more time to react and control the situation.
Okay, the higher the better.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
You said that you travel with paragliding suits, like all the gears. How heavy are they? Can you give us a hint?
Yeah, I can show you. My gear is in this little backpack. And here is all the gear. It's my paraglide, my harness, my helmet.
Oh, that's everything.
Yes,
Well, it looks small, but it's very heavy though.
it's about 11, 12 kilograms, mine. And this is not the lightest equipment.
Okay.
Probably the lightest ones you can get to 8 kilograms altogether. Yeah, you really can hike up the hill with all your gear. You can take it on the plane, you can take it in the car, of course. So that's that's the thing that I like about paragliding, is logistically it's quite easy to do it. You can carry your own equipment everywhere.
How do you if you are in a rush in the air and you're still in the air, how did you sort it the problem? Like how do you
So,
pee?
yeah, so when you do cross country flying, there are some aspects that you need to take into account. So, yeah, when you go for long flight, you have two things. One is you you might be thirsty after a few hours, and then you can have a bit of water with you in the harness. And some is like a camel bag with a pipe, and you drink water. You might have some snacks to eat, but the biggest problem is sometimes you need to pee. So for
Yeah.
this, there are well, let's say there are different ways to solve it for men and women. For women, maybe it is the most simple in a
Oh.
way. They just wear Pampers. They just wear some diapers, like for grown-ups.
Ah.
Probably they're made for very old
Oh,
people,
right.
but they just wear them. For men, is a different. They some still wear diapers, and some they buy like it's like a condom with a pipe going out. At this stage, you have a problem. If you go to the pharmacy to buy such a thing, of course, the pharmacist, the seller will ask you like what size, and your vanity as a man will say like XXL, but the reality says that you need to buy an XXXS and hope that not the whole town will know. So better buy them in a different city because
So
they
you
really need
cannot
to
buy
stay
that in
on
the outdoor gear room.
all flight. No, don't buy it next. Don't buy it in your neighborhood. Then the whole neighborhood will know that you bought the
How about order
XXS size.
online?
That would be probably the best way to deal with it.
Oh my god. Because I thought it's something that is even reusable.
Maybe the pipe itself is reusable, and the condom part that you attach on is one time usage. The other way is you can kind of somehow try to get when you sit in your harness, you sit like in a sofa, and if you need to pee, your first reaction would be like, okay, I just try to kind of push myself out of the harness while flying, or yeah, in a
Yeah.
vertical position, but then you'll immediately remember that you fly with a certain speed. Like my paraglide, the trim speed is 37 kilometers per hour compared to the wind. So if you just start peeing, all of it will come on you. It's not like when you sit on the ground. Imagine peeing in a when you are up on a train or car, and of course all of it will come on you. Some people just accept that and they just wash afterwards.
Oh my
Maybe it's not
god.
the best
Oh
way to
my
continue your
god.
flight. It's not the most comfortable way. Some people would try to like not do it, but then you, like we talked before, you have a lot of things to think about it when you fly. So this is the last thing you want to think about to keep your mind busy. You don't want an extra
Yeah.
stress. Few days ago, I tried to do it in the flight. It was not the
Yeah.
best way, so I definitely lost my focus. Not injured, but you might get wet. Let's say. Some people that are really good and have no other way to do it, they would just try to like reverse, kind of fly backwards for a while, twist the paragliding lines, and then the paraglide would fly forward, but they are backwards to the flying direction, so they can peel with like not against the wind. That's a technique that I didn't try. This year I did my first, let's say, long, not really long, but longer flights. Like a few days ago, I had a 37 kilometers flight. It was quite good. I took care to not drink coffee before the flight because that's also diuretic and is triggering the thing. And that was
Yeah.
okay. It was a little bit less than 3 hours, and it was okay.
But it also sounds quite busy when you're in the air, right? That you have to constantly checking your paragliding gears and then the wind and people surround you, and maybe you have to think about where you're gonna land. right now when you were in the air.
You're right about that.
It's quite busy, no?
You're right about that. You have a lot of things to
Oh, really?
think about, and it is a bit like driving a car.
Yeah.
You'd when you start to drive, you'd maybe drive on an empty road where you don't need to worry about other cars around you. It's the same here. You'd fly on a very nice day when there are no thermals. Maybe in the morning there are not so many pilots in the air, so you basically take off. You know your route to the landing place. You don't need to think about it too much, and your instructor would guide you for the landing, and then you need to think about the landing a bit. Then, as you progress as a pilot, you maybe want to do this XC, as we call them, is a cross country, X from the cross, and the country, C from country.
Oh.
And then you need to think more. Your mind is more busy because maybe you need to think where you get the next thermal. We call thermal these ascending air currents. And if you get it, what do you do next? Is it any possibility to land because you are really far away from your usual place where you know the landing areas? So you need to think, okay, if I go there, if I get no other thermals, am I able to land or not? Am I able to continue my journey or not? So then your mind is more busy indeed.
Before you do that, do you have to drive to another countries and then to check where you're landing? Like,
Is
do you know what I mean?
so and so. Normally, you would look on other people's flights in that area. You have Google Maps or Google Earth to help you. Sometimes it happens that you start from a place that you know already. You've been flying there just from the hill to the, like maybe go a bit around the hill and land to the official landing place. And once you get to know the landscape from the air and from the maps, you can dare to move away from that place. You might know the area from above because you've been flying into that place and coming to the, let's say, normal or official landing place, and you will check Google Maps, and also you will maybe head towards landscape where you know is a plain, and you know there it should be a lot of landing places. It's a field or something like that. Of course, you need to be very careful with power lines. They can be in the middle of the field or near the road, but as long as you're not really above the forest or above a city, you find landing places.
Have you ever landed in any weird area?
Yeah, recently I landed in a very narrow place. It was more like someone's courtyard, but it was a big one for being a courtyard, but small enough for a landing place. Luckily, I didn't land in a bush or a tree, but it was not my desired landing place. But yeah, it happened.
Right.
And yeah, a few days ago I landed. It was a nice place, very big, but it was like a farm there in between two hills, and a lot of dogs. It was not really like it's like a house slash farm near some trees, but far away from the road and from the village. And there were some dogs that were probably not used to other people that their owners. So they came they came to me a bit aggressive. Like I was like, okay, these dogs
Oh.
haven't seen people in maybe 2 months, but it was okay. They were not. They're just barking, but not very aggressive.
It must be very scary that you have to drag all your paragliding suits and then running.
They were okay. It was just after I packed everything, and I had to pass by near this house in few minutes, so they were like coming to me and barking, but it was okay.
So, is there any paragliding community in Stockholm or Romania or the world? Do you normally, how do you find them?
Yes. In Romania, there is quite a, I would say, fairly big paragliding community, fairly 300 active pilots. And in Stockholm or generally Sweden, paragliding is not so known.
Yeah, because in Taiwan, paragliding is very, very small as well. So do you know which country has the biggest paragliding community?
Yeah, in Europe, France is paragliding is very big in France.
Oh,
And also Switzerland, also Italy.
oh,
In France, they even have some paragliding high school that
wow.
for someone that is keen about paragliding is like, yeah,
What?
exactly. I was like, what? They go there to learn paragliding
Wow.
in school?
Wow, that's
And yes,
crazy.
that's how it happens.
And how many times do you fly a day? Or just once?
I tried.
Or you'll go up and down
I try
a couple
I try
times?
to fly only once a day, and that would ideally be a long flight, like long in both in terms of distance and time. If you start around noon when the thermal activity is the best and you fly for maybe 3.5 hours, then the flying day is almost over. But sometimes it doesn't happen
Yeah.
like that.
Right. Ooh, so many people. There's a lot.
Yep. Sometimes you might take off with the thought of going for the distance, and you have to land in a few minutes, and then you can go up the hill again and try again.
Where is your next destination that you want to go flying the most and why?
Oh, there are a few of them. I'd like to go in the Alps. Some areas are more difficult and you need to be quite experienced. I would like to go to South America for the very good thermals there, and being close to like Brazil or Colombia, being close to Ecuador, the rocks get very hot, and then there are a lot of thermal activities. And of course, I would like to go
Oh,
to Himalayas, maybe. Start with the easy places, and maybe,
what?
yeah,
So high.
there are some nice flying areas in Nepal. So in the meantime,
Oh, I see.
before we'll be able to travel more, I will get more experience in Europe.
I really wish like the border will open soon and I got to try some paragliding. Or maybe I'll
I hope
start
so.
to look it up if anyone doing in Taiwan, and maybe you will be interested in coming to Taiwan doing your paragliding as well.
Definitely. I've heard there are some mountains in Taiwan, so it should be some nice place to fly.
Yeah, there's a lot. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your flying later. Thanks, Radu, to come to our show.
Thanks,
Thank
Irene.
you.
The sky is calling. I must go.
This is great. I love it.